to another episode of Untapped Potential. I am Simone Matthew, and today I have the distinct honor of bringing to you a cultural icon from Antigua, and by extension, a cultural icon from the Caribbean. So today we are joined by Mrs. Heather Doram, and of course, she's from Antigua. She's the creator of the National Dress of Antigua. She's a prolific costume designer. She's a visual artist, an educator, an actress, an advocate, and she's also the person responsible for the mural at the airport in Antigua. So again, I have the distinguished honor of having a cultural icon from the Caribbean here with us as our guest on Untapped Potential. But before we welcome her in, I just want to welcome you to the program and thank you for joining us. And I want to encourage you to, of course, share the live. Invite everyone to be a part of this conversation together. And as you're coming in, don't forget to let us know where you're joining us from and just say hi and hello so we know that you are here with us. If this is your first time joining us, welcome to the Push Past 10 platform. This is the place we come to just take a break from the stress of the world, the confusion and the chaos of the world. And I've been doing this for about 1 year. And we just come, we bring inspirational guests, and we celebrate and promote who we are as Caribbean people. So once again, I want to welcome you, and I also want to thank our sponsor of this program, tdnradio.net, for sponsoring our Facebook Live broadcast, as well as my radio program, Untapped Potential. And before I forget, I want to thank Mrs. Irma Marie Senhouse Ruxler, who was the one who put me in contact with Mrs. Heather Doram. So we are very excited. It is Saturday afternoon. I hope you've prepped your dinner for tomorrow. You have some time to relax and put your feet up and enjoy a great conversation. So come on in. Don't forget to share the live as we say a very special welcome to Mrs. Heather Doram. How are you?
I am just great. Thank you so much for inviting me to share my life, my experience. I really appreciate it.
Yes, and we want to thank you for being here. You know, you've been described as a national treasure of Antigua. You've been described as a national gem of Antigua. I think at this point, we just want to put you in a bubble and preserve you. So thank you for being here. And just tell us a little bit about who you are, your upbringing, and a little bit of an introduction of who you are.
Okay. Good afternoon to all your guests, and I hope that, you will be getting some valuable experience and some knowledge about my life, my journey, my successes, etc. As Simone said, my name is Heather Doram. I was born on a sugar plantation in Antigua and Barbuda. I'm a country girl, basically. We grew up in the country and, very idyllic life. I am one of 7 girls from my parents, and we attended primary school, secondary school in Antigua and Barbuda. Of course, my interest was always visual arts. I never wanted to do anything else but the visual arts. So I left school. I went to the teachers training college in Antigua and went back to my alma mater, the Antigua Girls High School, to teach for a while. And then I decided that I needed to develop myself. I wanted to fulfill my dream of, just becoming a visual artist. And so I attended the Manley College for the Vision and Performing Arts in Kingston, Jamaica. I came back, taught again at my alma mater, and then I went off to Savannah College of Art and Design, where I did my master's degree in fine arts. And now back in Antigua, I left teaching. I became the director of culture for a few years. And after that, I retired, idyllic retirement. So I'm at home and I can just do my visual arts all day long. And that to me is heaven. That's
yes, absolutely. So that is you in a nutshell. But I just want to share a little. a little bit more about who you are. So let me just do a quick read of your bio. So Heather Doram, MFA GCM, is both a veteran and Antigua and Barbuda's leading contemporary artist. She believes in art as a catalyst of change. We have the power to raise consciousness, stimulate debate, and promote change. She says, my work, which incorporates traditional women's technique like sewing, has a rich sense of place and explores being Black and female in a world that centers males. Her sense of purpose notwithstanding, Heather loses herself in the creative process, open to intuition and to full abandon. Alum of Antigua Girls High School and the Leeward Islands Teacher Training College, she studied art at Jamaica, Edna Manley College for the Visual and Performing Arts and the Savannah College of Arts and Design. And then let's go down a little bit. She's who's SCAD is one of the U.S. leading art institution and distinctions from her time there included being named the Who's Who in American College University. Her art, let's scroll down, her art being selected to represent the college at the Venice Biennale and College, purchasing almost her entire thesis show for its permanent collection. Wow, so impressive. This, along with other accolades, including being one of only 12 Caribbean artists selected in 2004 for a US 20,000 prize and one of only 40 featured in the Textile Museum of Canada's show at the 2015 Paranam Games, speaks to the high regard in which her work is held regionally. As a textile artist, Heather manipulates felt to create a visual experience at once personal, domestic, and universal. She works with a mix of elements, acrylic paints, metallic threads, found objects, while using color and animal. Her work celebrates womanliness, and I want to talk a little bit more about that in a little while also acknowledging its complexity. Most embellic of this has been her signature show, Strength of a Woman, but it runs through all of her major series. We have so many stories to tell. Sands of Time and the Shadow Boxes made of found objects, which probe at Antigua and Barbuda societal shifts with a mix of nostalgia and creativity. Let's see. The mother of two and grandmother has been an actress, right? And a gallery owner. Her work has showed up in the carnival stage and streets due to her multi-decade, multi-award-winning costume collaborations with her husband, Connie. Her work has also appeared on book covers in the airport and non-traditional surfaces like bottles and trays, and on the bodies of many Antiguans and Barbudans on National Dress Day as the artist behind the dress's official design. Heather has worked as an educator, education administration, visual arts curriculum officer, and Ministry of Education, and chief examiner of visual arts over the decade with the Caribbean Examination Council. She retired in 2006 after peaking as cultural director. In retirement, she offers art workshops while producing new work prolifically. You know, Heather, I often don't read an entire bio, but I had to read yours because it is so impressive, the amount of work that you've done and the way you have given back to Antigua as well as the Caribbean in general. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Yes, I'm all about giving back as well. That is I yearn to do that. I don't expect that any knowledge that I would have gained over my lifetime that I would leave this earth with it. So my whole feeling is that I want to give back, especially to women, to other women, so that
Yes.
I can uplift them as well.
Yes, and I want to talk about that in a little while. But just take us all the way back to when you first became interested in art. How did you first pursue your interests when you realized that you were interested in art?
I can remember those days you lived on a sugar plantation, far removed. Everybody considered us like living far removed from St. John's and from school. And we weren't wealthy by any means. We had a comfortable existence, but there wasn't art shops or art books or crayons. I had nothing of the sort. So I would take a pencil and I would find, we always had a library in the house, and I would find any book that had a blank page in it, and I would start doing my drawings. Of course, I got spanked for doing that, but that love just developed all through primary school. In
Mhm.
secondary school, believe it or not, I gravitated towards any subject which had anything to do with drawing,
Right.
diagrams. I love geometry, I love geography, I love biology, any subject in which I could draw, and I
Hmm.
excelled at those subjects.
Right.
And unfortunately, art wasn't offered at my high school at the time. And I insisted that that's what I wanted to do. So an arrangement was made for myself and another young lady to travel to the all boys school, the Antigua Grammar School, where we did art, and I passed it at O level. And I still had a yearning, although I was teaching it, I felt that I wasn't where I wanted to be. So I got a scholarship to attend Edna Manley in Jamaica for 3 years. And even after I got back, I think I wanted to do more. I had heard about Savannah College, and what I liked about Savannah was the college was really multicultural. You know,
Hmm.
about 90% of the students at that college are from countries on every continent: Africa, Asia, China. And I felt I would fit in beautifully there. So that's where I decided to go to do my master's.
Right now,
I was encouraged to do, pardon me?
before we talk about your masters, let's go back to an important decision you had to make when you decided to go to Jamaica, because at that time your daughters were only 5 and 8. So kind of walk us through that decision and how difficult it
Yes,
must have been to decide
I
that you had to pursue this career.
I would say that was a challenge and that was a hurdle that I had to overcome,
Hmm.
because in those days it was unheard of for a woman who was already married with children to get up and be even dreaming about going away to study overseas. And of course, the other hurdle would have been art wasn't very something that's very important in
Right.
those days. Anything in the creative industries or in the arts was not really recognized unless you were not becoming a doctor or lawyer or some other profession like that. Visual arts was at the bottom of the totem pole. So I had two
Hmm.
hurdles to overcome: the fact that I wanted to study art, and number two, that I was already married with children and wanting to go off to study. um, I can remember that some of them, you know, like my mom and some others, they were questioning my decision as,
Right.
are you sure that you really want to do this, especially since you're already married? And I said to myself, it has been done before.
Hmm.
I don't think that my husband is not capable of taking care of the children with the, you know, the support group that we have around us. And it was something, you know, so passionate. I felt so passionate about that I decided to take the plunge and to go off to study. So there are some hurdles, at least in my day at that time,
Hmm.
that number one, a woman going off and leaving a husband and children to go and study, that was a hurdle. That's one. And two, the fact that the visual arts wasn't considered something that somebody would really offer you a scholarship to go off to do. But I put a
Yeah.
proposal forward of the reason I wanted to do it. And I still feel today that the visual arts really assist students with their critical thinking skills, which is so necessary in all the other subject areas. And I also am a big proponent for art as therapy. I think if a lot more of our children at a younger age were given at least some sort of time during each day where they can express their emotions, where they can let out what they're feeling and you know, wanting to say, that I think it would go a long way. I saw some videos just yesterday about a lot of fights in about 5 or 6 different schools in Antigua. And I'm said the kids have all these pent up emotions and no way of expressing it or letting it out. And I think that the visual, any form of creative arts actually, because I do believe in dance and theater as being other avenues for self-expression as well.
Yeah, and that is so important because, I am in touch with one person out of Dominica who lives in Vienna, and that's exactly what he's doing. His name is Daryl Toulon, and he lives in Vienna. He's from Dominica, and he's using performance arts as a tool for conflict resolution. So
Oh.
it's so important what you talk about in terms of using art to help kids
Hmm.
to express
Hmm.
themselves and just kind of vent
Yes.
what they're feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you went off to SCAD, like you were saying, and then you talk about the Epiphany in Georgia. Tell us what that was all about.
Simone, you have the full background.
I am well read.
Okay, so here I am again. Okay, the kids are much older now. Yes, I came back, marriage intact, so I'm off to Savannah now. And I had a roommate, but she worked nights after school, so I was alone quite a lot. And I would be working quite a bit and had a lot of time with myself and with my thoughts and thinking about the life that I was living, the life that I came from, and how it didn't feel like if I was being fulfilled. I wasn't. I did some reading. We had to do a lot of reading at the time, which really had me thinking a bit. And something that always stuck in my head was something that I read. If you were to die tomorrow,
Hmm.
and no, let's say you were on your deathbed, would you have any regrets? Would you be looking back and saying, I wish I had done this? I wish I had done that. And I said to myself, I don't intend for that to happen to me. I want when I'm on my deathbed that I would have been fully satisfied, that I would be living a really full life where I am able to express myself, express my emotions, um, and pursue my art. Because I don't think that because you are a woman, that your full life has to be occupied with being a wife and being a mother. I think that a woman also needs her other side. I think we can do both. That we
Hmm.
can have a passion that we pursue and that we can live a life that is full, and fulfilled. So that epiphany came about. And so when I came back, I had a sit down conversation with my husband and, told him that I would like us to do things a bit differently because I would like this and I would like that. And eventually he understood what I was talking about and we got right back on stream and it's fine. I am the happiest that I've ever been in my entire life.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing that because I think many times as women and mothers, we think that we have to sacrifice all that we are for our family, especially when we have young children. And then you end up being miserable, unfulfilled, and you keep wondering if there is more to life.
Yes,
So
yes.
thank you for giving
Also,
us permission to pursue our
yes.
passions.
I was on this a member of this talk show called Keeping It Real with
Mhm.
3 other women. It ran on our local television station for a while. And I think one week we raised different subject matter. And I can remember one week I raised this point that what men don't realize is that their lives, especially those who are in a relationship or in a marriage, that they would be so much happier. They would feel so much better about themselves and their relationship. If women, I don't want to use the word allowed because nobody's allowing me to do anything.
Exactly.
If the woman also feel fulfilled. There's a spillover. Then you will also be happy because she's so happy that she's getting to do exactly what she wants to do. She's able to go off and study. She always wanted to learn to sew. She goes off and does this sewing class while the husband takes care of the kids. So when she gets home, she has achieved something. She's so much happier for it. And then the whole
Nice.
home, the whole relationship and everything is happier. But sometimes in relationships, we tend to be very selfish and one track. It's just what I want and it's what you want. And I think the remedy for that is everybody getting access, everybody feeling fulfilled. When
Mhm.
my husband, his job took him overseas quite a bit. He did a lot of traveling before, during our marriage. And there wasn't a question ever that if he's going to travel or I'm there taking care of the kids. So why can't it be the other way around? That I'm going off for 2 years. Yes, he never stayed away that long, but I'm going off for 2 years to study. And if he really loves me and wants our relationship to work, then I don't see any reason why he can't take care of the children until I get back. And when I get back, I'm going to be a pretty happy person because I got
Mhm.
to pursue my passion and I'm feeling so much more fulfilled that my life just opens up.
Yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. And I think the onus is also on us as women to speak what we need. Because many times we think that we are supposed to fulfill these roles that have been pre ordained for us, and we do not speak of what we truly desire. So the onus is on us to know that if I make myself happy, it is only
Mm-hmm.
the way that I can make everyone else in the house happy. And we all know when a woman is not happy, nobody in the house is happy. So let's just put that
Simone,
out there.
I don't know um, to the listeners, but for my generation, somebody of my age group, I think you mentioned something which is always a thought that I have about not being able to speak up and express ourselves.
Mhm.
Simone, that was ingrained in us as children.
Mhm.
It was ingrained in us at home and the type of education we got, the colonial type of education that we got. You don't speak. You don't speak. You don't respond. You speak when you're spoken to. You weren't allowed to express yourself. There was no emotions involved. You were not able to express how I am feeling. And this has just carried on to all the women of my generation. We do not speak up for ourselves. We do not speak about emotions, full stop. There's no speaking about emotions. We don't express, I'm feeling unhappy. How can I help you to become happy? I am not thinking, I'm thinking that I really don't like this. I don't appreciate this. I don't like when you do this. No, we were not allowed to express ourselves. And this is something that I had to overcome and speak up for myself. Um, this is the Heather now. That wasn't the Heather like 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Absolutely.
You went into a meeting or a room and you just hush your mouth and listen. You didn't speak up for yourself. These days, when I walk into a room, you know when I walk into a room, I make my presence be felt. I express myself. I know exactly what I want to say. If I don't agree with you, I'm going to tell you I don't agree with you. And that is something that I think we need to instill in the young people today, because in our generation that's gone. But I'm not saying that you have to live with that because you were taught that way. There is a way that you can come out of that shell, and we must learn to speak up, express ourselves, and show some emotion. That all of us people have feelings and emotions, and they need to be expressed. So if even I don't get to say them verbally, at least I have an outlet where I can express myself in my art. So I have two ways that I basically can do that, and I use them to the fullest.
Yes, yes. And thank you for being a pioneer for women in the Caribbean in so many ways.
Well,
Absolutely a pioneer of using, the visual arts as a career. as well as being able to speak up and say when you don't agree or just speak up in
Mhm.
general. So I want to talk
Yeah.
about your artwork. I want to talk about costume design and
Okay.
everything that is a part of your portfolio. But before we do, I just want to remind everyone who's looking on the Facebook Live or who will hear this via the radio that today I'm speaking with Mrs. Heather Durham out of Antigua, and she's a national treasure, national icon. She is a visual artist. She is an educator. She's a pioneer. She's an activist. She is so many things, but we are truly blessed to have her as a Caribbean woman. And we also want to acknowledge everyone who's joining us on the Facebook Live. So let's take a look and see who's joining us. We have Annette Phillip out there in New York City. We have Clesso Kays, and they say, hey, hey, love the program. It's not my first time. Thank you for joining. We have Sheila Hutchinson. Hello from the UK. Special greetings to my little sister, Heather.
Hi, Sheila.
We have Chic, I believe the name is. Art is a cure in so many words. You are absolutely correct. Then we have, I think it's Eilif Peltier. It is valid in the sense since it calls for imaginative thinking and innovation. So she's talking about when you mention art as therapy. And then
Yes.
we also have Clyde Gregoire. He said Mrs. Doram is a darling. So that's from Clyde. Celia is watching from New Jersey. And Mignat says, Dr. D, you are awesome. It's, yes. So thank you everyone who's joining us on the Facebook Live. I am truly enjoying this conversation. We also have Jay John. Hey, watching from Trinidad and Tobago. Angela from Canada. So keep the comments coming. Say hi, say hello, tell us where you're joining us from and if you are enjoying the program. So back to the conversation. So tell us about this incredible journey that you've had in the area of costume design. And the viewers may not know, but I know your husband is a
Yes.
costume builder. So tell us about that incredible synergy that exists between your
Yeah.
husband and yourself as you being a designer and he being a costume
Yeah.
builder.
Just before I do that, I just wanted to recognize that last person that you called. Believe it or not, I was contacted by a student who is doing her CXC journal and asked for some information about me as an artist and stuff. So we have been communicating back and forth, and that's her. I didn't even realize she knew that
Ah,
this was going to be on. Hi,
wonderful. She
Jay,
must
and I
she
greet
must
you
be on
respect.
your page because I shared it to your page. I tagged you.
Okay,
And
okay,
then
all right.
Selena Johnson says, Irma is on. Hey,
Ah, hi,
cousin.
Emma.
Nice to see you. Oh, this is wonderful. This is wonderful.
Okay, so I was quite young in my 20s, I think it was, and I met this sexy, awesome guy. His name was Conrad. And okay, he reminded me I was about 17. And so I met him, but he was very much involved in carnival and costume building and stuff. And so we used to go out every evening. I would follow him to this place where the costumes were being made. And I just found it real fascinating. Of course, being a country girl, I really didn't get to be too involved in carnival. So here was an opportunity now. I can be out in the nights with him, and I'm following him to this mass camp, and they are making the costumes. I just found it really fascinating how they went about it. That they would draw the design on the concrete, and then they would have somebody who would bend the wire to the shape of the design, and then those wires had to be welded. There had to be somebody who knew how to use the welding machine. They would
Mhm,
weld them together. And after that's all put together, then it would be hung up on the side of a building. So after it's
mhm,
hung up on the side of the building, you started doing the decorations. You put on the foil paper, the braids and all of that. And I kept looking and just observing this whole technique and how it was being done. So after I got back from Edna Manley, just fresh out of art school, I wanted to bring all that fresh knowledge and experience that I had gained about what makes a good design. I'm going to bring all of that now and I'm going to put it into costume design and building. So we branched off in and formed a mass troupe. And I was the designer, and Connie, along with a lot of other persons, would build the costume. And we progressed like this, joining different groups, designing for persons, building for persons, until we ended up at the point where it was just a husband and wife team, him and I.
Mm, mhm,
And I have to laugh every time I think about those experiences because I would be in a class, in the middle of a class at school, and it's just like ideas just come to me at any place and any time. There's no time when I accept time that I get ideas. And I would be in front of that class and I just had the corner of a book and I would just sketch that down. So as soon as Connie came to pick me up for lunch, to go home from school, I would say, Connie, I've got it. I've got this idea. And he saw it and all he would say to me, this is his favorite word, put it on paper, put it on paper. So he wants me now to draw it, to scale bigger. And then we have to sit down because he has to understand what I have in my head, how I want this built, what size, what height, all these things come into play. What color, what's the color scheme, what materials are we going to use? So people would see a costume, but I don't think they understand the whole production behind producing these costumes. And so sometimes we get into a little fight, especially he doesn't understand my vision or I don't understand what he's saying, but usually we get it right. I don't think I've ever complained about a costume that didn't come out exactly as the design or exactly as I envisioned it. So we used to make the costumes at home, actually. We would clear all the furniture from the house in May, beginning in May. It was always Labor Day. We would pack all the furniture away in the bedrooms or wherever. Yes, that's one of them.
yes,
And
yes. As you're talking, I thought I would share some of your work.
okay, so
Yes,
we
go
would
ahead.
be in the house. Why that was convenient because we had two children. They were still quite young, and getting up with them and taking them someplace and so on, that would have been quite difficult. And after all, they're in school. So we would
Mhm.
build the costumes right here in the house, and we built them in such a way that they could be dismantled. And when it's carnival time for the show, there was this big sliding door. We would open the sliding door, take the pieces out one by one, take them on a truck. Oh, I love that one. That's I
Yes,
see.
it's
I remember
beautiful,
that.
beautiful.
We would
Hmm.
take the costumes down to the grounds and get it all prepped and ready. But even before that, there was always this consultation with the girl who's wearing the costume. Irma can join in and say,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
know she
Hmm.
will.
Right.
Okay, one of the persons who's listening, I actually made a costume for her, and she became
Yes.
Carnival Queen in Antigua and Barbuda. So
Uh-huh.
Irma would come to the house because we have to make sure that the waistband and everything fits Irma exactly like we want it to fit. And
Hmm.
also we would put on some music so that she can practice in the costumes because sometimes I would want a particular costume to have a particular type of movement.
Hmm.
And also I would want her to dance to a particular type of music.
Hmm.
So that it's an entire production that we did by ourselves.
Hmm.
Then you had to prepare the rider. The rider would have what lights you would want the night of the show, what music you would want first, and then you wanted to go into something slower. It depends on the theme of the costume. And then you had to write a full description, which the person on the stage would then read as the costume is being displayed. It was
Hmm.
pretty exciting because imagine putting something down on a tiny piece of paper and then seeing that thing come to life with all the movement and the color and the whole experience was pretty heady. I really enjoyed that time when we made those costumes. And what was gratifying to me was that people would say that they were just coming to the Queen show or the pageant just to see what we were coming up with next.
I'm one that goes for the costumes. I love the costumes.
So yeah, then they went into a phase where they don't really want those big costumes again, but I think they're going back there again. So that was a great experience for me. And I think
Mhm.
what can be more gratifying than you producing something for an audience and the audience showing their appreciation?
Yeah,
It
and
was
also
really
going down
gratifying.
into the history of Antigua, because Carnival is part of the history of the island. So going
Yes.
down into the history, and like I mentioned at the beginning of the program, I was actually in Antigua for that carnival where Irma Marie won Carnival Queen. So I'm so proud of her, and I'm so happy that I got to experience seeing her
Yes.
become the Carnival Queen of Antigua. So, but just
Yes.
how many years have you and your husband been involved with the costume creations?
I would say that it would have been about 50 years for him, but I would have been maybe about 35. We ended our career in about 1996.
Right,
Yes. And
right.
we
And
ended
then
it because of some health reasons that he had. That was one of the main reasons why we ended it. Yes.
And I'm always curious as to how these important skills are being passed on to the next generation. So, is there a movement in Antigua to ensure that the next generation of costume builders are being trained and they're, part of an apprenticeship, that this is going to continue? Please say yes.
No. And
Oh,
let me
my.
tell you why. No. We have talked about this for years and years. I would even hear it today, this year, last year, the same thing being repeated. People are thinking that we should be passing down this art form to the younger generation, the wire bending and stuff. They're not interested. That's one. They're not interested. Number two, there are so many more easier ways, materials, techniques that are used nowadays to produce costumes. So what's the
Mhm.
sense of producing wire bending unless you want to create some stuff,
Wow.
that the other materials cannot use? But yes, it was important at the time, but
Mhm.
I am a realist. And nothing stays the same, especially with how fast paced technology is. There are some
Mhm.
materials being used today that we didn't dream of. The weight of a costume, which is 15 feet high, could be something like 20 pounds, whereas in my day, it would have been 50. So
Mhm.
the costumes that you see on the streets today, they are more about just the spectacle, more about just the color. Whereas back in my time, each costume had a theme. For instance, I can remember a costume just when we had this Caribbean movement, CARICOM was
Mhm.
being signed at the moment, and I commemorated that by calling a costume CARICOM Woman, and it had a little bit of all the different territories in the costumes and things like that. So there was relevance to the costumes that people could relate to the themes that you were projecting. But these days we have moved away where you would say, maybe parrot. Let's say I'm portraying a parrot. So
Mhm.
it's more about just showing the colors with a lot of feathers instead of actually seeing an actual portrayal of maybe a bird's beak, some wings. It's completely different. I don't think there's going to be any going back because these materials much lighter, easier to work with. They've been mass produced in places like China. You can get them so much cheaper. So why go the hard way when you can come up with
Sad.
a beautiful costume instead of yeah, there's no movement to teach wire bending or anything like that in schools.
Yeah, that is truly unfortunate because it's such a part of our rich culture, part of our carnival. At the
Hmm.
heart of our carnival are the costumes. And if they're just being mass produced, then to me it
Yeah.
takes away the soul of what we're trying to do.
It does, and that is why I don't know if you heard about the group, the group from the Catholic Church,
Mm.
Vitus. They used to play
Mm-mm.
mass in Antigua. They were asked me to design for them. The bishop at the time thought that we were kind of going down the wrong road with the kind of loose displays on the street, and he loved carnival. He would be at every calypso show. And he thought that he was going to lead by example. So he started a group, which is we can play mass, but we can be moral at the same time. And so they asked me to be the designer. I designed for them for several years. The only difference being the costumes were not as exposed as, the two-piece being worn, but they fully enjoy themselves. They can, because I'm a Catholic or I'm a religious person, didn't mean that I cannot play mass. So that was something that I did for many years, and they were pretty successful. They were pretty successful.
Well, thank you for your contribution to the costume building and design in the Caribbean. Now, would you say you guys were one of the most prolific teams in the Caribbean in terms of what you did? I
I think
thought
so.
so. I thought
Yeah.
so. Yeah, absolutely. Now, you're also a visual artist, and your work has been described as explorative. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Okay. I came back from art school very resistant to the fact that I didn't want to just paint pictures for tourists to purchase. That would mean I'm just going to do the little beach scenes, the little woman here. I want my artwork to express who I am as a woman, where I came from, and also to propel other women to inspire them that they can be and be more. So that's what my artwork is about. And sometimes there are some issues which come into play. For example, I don't know if you can see back of me.
Hmm.
I
Yes.
was in the middle of the COVID pandemic.
Hmm.
And to be totally honest with you, I got depressed. I got a little bit of depression because it's just like if I things I read about in the history book, like the bubonic plague or something, and how are we going to get out of it, and how long are we going to be in this thing? And I was kind of depressed. And that same big sister, yes, who's listening and watching, she told me that I need to shut off all social media for a while and get back into my studio because I wasn't in my studio at that time.
Hmm.
And I listened to her. I stopped listening to the news every day because I was getting more and more panicked and more worried. And I went into my studio and I haven't come out since. So that's over a year and months now. I'm still in my studio prolifically producing work. But in the meantime, now there comes this George Floyd murder, and I had to respond to that. That's one. And then the Black Lives Matter movement, and I just had to respond as well. I had to respond to that. So back of me, it's one of the series. I wanted to show people that I am Black. I am proud of who I am. I wanted to project Black women in a very positive light, that we are strong, we're resilient, we're beautiful. And the blacker, the better for me, as far as I'm concerned. The blacker the skin tone, and that is why I make my women be very dark. And if you notice, they're always very erect, but each one of them has a different message to tell. And this is my way of just inspiring other women to come along and to just be their best and to not let anybody or racism or anything like that hold us down or keep us back. Because I grew up in the plantation era, and I know my father told us that education is the thing that is going to get you someplace in life. And we all believe that, and we all pursued an education. And I know there are people in our time who fought for our freedom and fought for us. And I think racism is something that really gets under my skin. So this is a series called My Tribute to Melanin. That's a whole
Lovely.
series of women. I have sold
Mhm.
quite a few of them, but I'm still on that train. And that is one.
Beautiful.
There are dragonflies all around her because that's a personal symbol. I use a lot of symbols in my work. The dragonfly is one, the butterfly is another, because to me, it all had to do with my personal transformation. Just being free to do and to be who I want to be. So those are some of the personal symbols I use in my work.
Yeah, and I think that speaks well to the fact that you enjoy pushing boundaries. And I guess it celebrates the womanliness that you also use to describe your artwork as well.
Exactly,
Yeah, so
exactly.
tell us a
So
little bit more of the womanliness while I share some of your work as well.
okay. Now, I know in a lot of art, or let's take the modeling world for instance. We're always glorifying like the slim bodied and the skinny type of woman. And I wanted to change that perspective. So lots of times, if I paint a nude, the woman has to be full bodied, she has to be buxom, and she has to have dark skin because that's what I want to project. I want us to own our space. I want us to own who we are as a people. And I know we are strong, we are powerful, we're vibrant, we're resilient, we're all of those things and more. And I love being a Black person, and I love being a Black woman, and I love being a woman.
Absolutely. So I'm just sharing some of your work. And of course, if you're listening via my radio program, which this will eventually air on, you can always go to Redbubble. So that is Redbubble, and just type in Heather Doram and you will be able to see some of her artwork. So just kind of tell us a little bit of what we're looking at right now on the
Okay,
website.
so I have this site. It's my site on Redbubble.
Mm-hmm.
And what is so exciting about this? With the assistance of my daughter, who is a graphic designer, who kept telling me, Mommy, we need to take it to the next level. Of course, I didn't
Absolutely.
understand what she meant about taking me to the next level, but I eventually got it. So I have a site on Redbubble where all my artwork, my original artwork, is printed on a whole range of both functional, wearable, and decorative items. And that's pretty exciting to me. So what you're looking at is like the turtle, for instance. The turtle was done on a t-shirt. It was done on throw cushions. If you want it on a shower curtain, you can get duvet covers, t-shirts. There are even some shifts, floor mats, and the wall art. So it's kind of making my art more universal. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also more affordable because you don't have to buy the original. If you want a piece of my art for your wall, you can just
Mm-hmm.
go to Redbubble. So I'll just give that to you if you have your pen. It's www.redbubble.people/Heather Doram/shop. And that would take you directly to the site with my products. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
there are products from other artists from all over the world, but this will take you directly to the products of Heather Doram. As a matter of fact, that's my phone case.
Ah, on the left, the turtle.
This is one of my artworks. This is on my
Oh,
phone
let's
case.
see. Oh, okay. Oh, beautiful.
So
Let
their
me
phone
stop.
cases for Samsung, their iPhones. Look,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Bring
my
it back up.
artwork.
Bring it back up again. Oh, that's beautiful. And you can make a purchase on the website if you're in the Caribbean or
Yes.
if you're overseas as well.
Anywhere in the world, you can order and they will ship it to you, whatever product that you're interested in. And I'll show
Mm-hmm.
you some others.
Yes, please do.
T-shirt,
Mm-hmm. And what
and
I'm
it's
what I'm doing
very,
what I'm doing
very,
right now, I'm going
yeah.
to go on the website so I can just post the link to your
Yes,
shop
please.
on the,
Yes.
yeah, that might be easier. So
Now
right, go
these are
ahead.
gorgeous tights. I love them. Leggings.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And
Uh-huh.
lastly, just a
I'm
little
looking it up
tote,
now.
a little tote bag.
Mm-hmm. Heather Durham. Beautiful. Yes, so I will post the link so that we can simply click on the link and it will
Yes.
take you directly to her shop and you can own a piece of someone who's an icon of the Caribbean. So I think that is wonderful.
At the same time, I'll mention my series of coloring books. These
Yes,
are
let's
the initial series.
Mm-hmm.
The Caribbean Collection
Yes. And those are on Amazon?
on Amazon. Yes, just go to Coloring Book.
I'm gonna pull that up right now.
Yes, just go to
Yes.
Coloring Books and look for Heather Doram.
Mm-hmm.
This is Sea Life.
Right, it's right here. Can you see?
Right, that's it.
Yes, yes. So that one is pretty easy. So all you do is go to Amazon.com and type
Yes,
in Heather Doram, and it will come up very easily
yes,
for you. And I posted the link to the shop. So if anyone is interested in your products, they will
yes.
be able to very easily access it. But let's just talk about some of your proudest moments. And I know two
Ooh.
that instantly come to my mind that I would like you to expound on is being the creator of the national dress of Antigua, as well as the
Oh,
mural at the airport. So let's talk about those two first before you tell us anything else that you're very proud of.
okay, okay. Uh, it's very funny, but in 1992, someone asked me to be that Antigua and Barbuda doesn't have a national dress. It's really shameful. Every time we're going to the Olympics or representing the country overseas, we don't have a national dress. So this committee formed and decided we need to come up with a national dress for Antigua and Barbuda. They asked me to be a judge. And I said, all right, sure, I could do that. I thought about it a little bit and then I said, I think I would like to be a part of this. So I called back and asked to be withdrawn from being a judge and to be a contestant. So we all had to do our research and we were given, there were stipulations that the national dress had to be based on the immediate post-emancipation period. I don't know why they said that, but I had to work with what I was given. So I came up with two designs, two male and two female designs. And then the night of the competition, I read the other day, I thought it was less, but just read the article recently. And I think they said that there were about 60 entrants and
Hmm.
they cut it down to about 12 entrants. And I was one of the 12 with, of course, two male and two female designs. And
Hmm.
so that evening, you had to model your outfits and you had to give the criteria of why you selected that and why you selected that particular material and stuff. And believe it or not, most of the contestants had very similar designs to mine.
Huh.
Most of them had like a dress. I happened to make mine madras, but others would have had it maybe, floral patterns or whatever. And there was always an apron or pinafore. Is the full thing or half one that tied at the waist? So I wasn't far off as far as I was concerned from what everybody else was thinking. And lo and behold, at the end of the evening, my male was adjudged the winner and my female was adjudged the winner. That
Wow.
was pretty exciting stuff because you will go down in history as being the person who designed the national dress of your country, along with
Right.
all the other persons who designed the flag and all these other symbolic emblems that we have. And I think that was pretty much up there as one of the highlights of my entire life.
Yes, and I actually had the link to the dress. I saw it and now I can't find it.
Yeah,
Yes, I had the link that I was
yeah.
going to show the night. But congratulations. And
Thank
then
you.
how did the opportunity to paint the mural at the airport came about? That one I
Oh,
definitely have. So I want to
okay.
share that
So
one.
we're building a new airport just east of the old one.
Hmm.
And I think there was a committee that was put in place to kind of oversee how we're going to decorate the airport, not all these blank white walls. And I was called and approached about just come and have a walkthrough and see what I can be done. Well, you know me, I don't do white walls very well.
Right?
And I love color. So I'm saying you're arriving at a Caribbean airport. I would think that you want to see some of the life out there. Ah, there it is.
There
You
it
want to
is.
see something about the Caribbean as soon as you enter that airport. You either want to see the beaches, so you're standing in line. It's not so boring because you have something to look at. And I
Mm-hmm.
just came up with this idea because I just always had this thing in my head about showcasing our working class, our market vendors. There's something about a market scene which is pretty exciting to me. I don't know if it has to do
Mm-hmm.
with the gestures of the persons in conversation. It has something to do with all the fruits and the vegetables and the bustle and the activity.
Mm-hmm.
If you look back at my artwork, I always seem to be portraying market women. So I
Mm-hmm.
just thought, why not? So this mural starts in the arrivals hall. It
Mm-hmm.
comes around the wall and extends into the baggage claim area. So it kind of
Mm-hmm.
it follows your journey from immigration right around into baggage claim. As a matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, when I was finished that wall, lots of people were saying, "Oh, why don't you just do the entire? Why don't you just do?"
The entire airport.
Yeah, I feel very proud of that. That's
Yes.
really gratifying to me that
Yes.
your
And
work
again,
is
it's
there
permanent.
for it's permanent there
Yes.
unless they
Yes.
break down the airport or decide to paint it over. But
Right.
that's
Right.
yes, very very
Yes. So
gratifying
any
to
any
me.
other achievements stand out for you in such an illustrious career over so many decades?
Yes, I as an actress, I want to speak about the fact that I played the lead role. I never heard about this movie, but I'm gonna have to run out and get it. I made a cameo appearance in the first movie produced by our local production company, Hammer Production, a husband and wife team. And they did a movie called The Sweetest Mango. And they asked me to do a cameo appearance in it. And lo and behold, a couple of months later, they said they would like to see me and speak to me about something. And the question was, how would you like to play the lead role in the next movie? I was like,
Mhm.
oh, but you know me, always up to a challenge. And I said,
Absolutely.
yes, of course. But, it was really exciting because now I'm getting to see all that goes in behind the making of a movie and the makeup and the early wake up calls and all sorts of things. But I loved it and I think the movie was awesome. It's pretty impressive. I think you should
And
watch
and
it.
and let me just throw this in because I'm getting a sense of who you are because you sound like you're a lot like me. So that sparked an interest, right? So this is not your last foray into the movies.
No,
I know who I'm speaking
because
to.
because after that, there was a friend of mine from England, a writer, and she saw my appearance in the movie, and she now came up with this idea about me doing stage. Oh my God. Okay, so she wrote these two plays, and she wanted me as an actress. I played the lead in one and a supporting in the other. Now, being in a movie is completely different from appearing on stage because
Yes, it
stage,
is.
it's immediate.
Yes.
You can't be up
Only
there
one take,
talking.
one take.
So it was scary, but I got through it. We did two
Hmm.
plays. Elroy Prescott has left the building and Sweet Lady. After that, we had a group of women, very powerful young ladies, who decided that they were quite fed up with all the physical abuse against women that was taking place in Antigua. And so they decided that they were going to put on the vagina monologues, Eve Ensler's vagina monologue. Yes, and
Good.
they did all the money that they raised from that they gave to to prevention abuse of women. And
Hmm.
actually, we had some women, abused women, who actually took part and did some of the monologues as well. And so there was this writer and a theater teacher, Zara Errol. She asked me if how would I feel about she had written this piece and the only person she thought about who could do it justice was me. Now, how can I turn down something like that? And so I did this piece for Zara. It was, oh, listen, I was in my element. So acting is another one of my passions now
Hmm.
because I was in my element. I was not afraid of the audience. I was in their face and it was pretty awesome. And I was even asked to perform that very same piece at some other events. And
Yeah,
then,
yes. Go ahead.
There is now this television show called Keeping It Real. There were four women. Of course, Zara, the same person who wrote that script for me, she was one of them. And we were just Antiguans talking about what Antiguans like, what we love, what we are like. It was Antiguans for Antiguans. And
Right.
it was a hit. It was appreciated by everybody across the board because here we are. Sometimes we are very serious, but other times we're making fun at ourselves. This is how we are as Antiguan. It ran for a few years. It's not on anymore. Then the other big highlight for me would have been being conferred with a national award. So that GCM behind my name, I do it proudly. It is Grand Cross of the Most Illustrious Order of Merit. It is given at Independence Time, to deserving persons who have made valuable contributions in whatever area. So that GCM is for my contribution to art and culture in Antigua and Barbuda. That makes me teary-eyed as well because how more gratifying can it be that you are being recognized by your own people for the contribution that you have made for the development of your country. So that is right up there along with the national dress as well. And let me see what else there is.
Take your time,
yes.
because you're saying all of this, and in my mind, I'm thinking, isn't she supposed to be retired? I don't think that word exists in your vocabulary, so you can just eliminate that word.
And another award which really stands out for me, in 2019, the Gender Affairs Division, they started a Women of Wadadli Awards, and I was awarded again for my contribution to culture. Women of Wadadli Awards, and I was nominated. That to me, that was very touching again, that particular award. And I then went on to do, of course, not backing down from any challenge again. My son-in-law has a radio station, so I came up with this bright idea that I want to do a radio show. So I had a radio show on Jump 100.1 FM, and it was called Let's Talk About Life. So it was just me talking about anything that impacted our lives and celebrating different individuals. And I really enjoyed doing that. It kind of wound down because of COVID, because we had a curfew time and the show, it didn't really coincide. And then I didn't want to have persons on the show and then they have to drive and then it's over curfew time. So that was a talk show I did. And finally, I was asked to be a Digicel brand ambassador. I didn't know anything about being an influencer, a brand ambassador, or anything like that. But so since last year, August, I have been a Digicel brand ambassador in Antigua and Barbuda, influencer. Yes. So if you see me posting a few things about Digicel on my Instagram and Facebook page and stuff, that's why.
Yes, well, congratulations. And thank you for being an example of living a life with no limits. I think so many times, and that's why when you visit my website, Push Past 10, you'll see the first thing you see is take the limits off your potential. Because so many times we put these limits on our life, especially as we start getting older. We start telling ourselves what we can no longer do, what we should not no longer be able to do. But thank you so much for being an example of life without limits. You're truly a phenomenal woman, and it's an honor to be having this conversation with you.
My motto is live out loud.
Yes.
Live in color, live life fully. We have only one chance to do life. I think some people think we have 4 or 5 other lifetimes. We have only one chance at this thing called life. So we have to learn to live it fully and live out loud and live in color.
Yeah.
I don't want any more shrinking. I'm not a shrinking violet. No. I don't do white. No. And once you put a challenge to me, I'm up for it. I don't have any limitations because of my age. Sometimes I forgot how old I am actually. I don't put any limitations on myself because of my age
Hmm.
either. And that is what sometimes helps you to, you know,
Yes.
revitalize, to live
Take the
life
next
more
step.
fully. Yeah. I've always said that I don't want to retire and be seen. I can remember being a young girl in school, and then you said, "Oh, this person has retired," and you pass the house, and the person is in a rocking chair on the veranda, rocking away. No, that's not going to be me.
Mhm. So retirement simply means you can do whatever you want to do and take whatever next opportunity comes your way. That's
I
going to be
wake up
my
when I like.
definition.
I go to bed when I like. I wake up when I like. All my friends and family know, don't wake me up before 10:30 in the morning because I'm up at 2 in my studio working or whatever. So you get to make your time. There are no
Yes.
boundaries. If I don't feel like
Yes.
doing this today, I don't do it. And that's the joy about retirement. But some people look at retirement as a time where I just inactive, don't do anything. Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah.
Good for
But
you. Good
I'm
for you.
enjoying. I'm enjoying
I,
life. I'm enjoying
yes,
life
and
to the
thank you for
fullest.
yeah, thank you for sharing that, and also thank you for the workshops that you're now doing to give back. Now, if you were to advise young and upcoming artists in the Caribbean, because
Mhm.
unfortunately, like for example in Dominica, being creating creating an income out of being an
Yes.
artist is just not possible. So what would you say to encourage anyone who is passionate about art the way you are and would like to pursue it as a career?
Okay, all these things that we just spoke about not a few minutes ago, and all the links to my site and things like that you've just done. With technology, it's so much easier for us to
It
do that,
is.
isn't it?
It is.
Because yes, you are a person in Dominica who is just doing some little paintings. You start creating a Facebook page or an Instagram page. I've had persons from all over the world who are interested in my art, so you have to get it out there. So your thing now is to really be using the technology to get you there. In addition, my advice would be you have to know what your audience is looking for. If you're going to be catering for your audience, now there are two sides as far as I'm concerned in being an artist. And as I said, when I got back from art school, I was very resistant to going the way of just painting for the tourists. I wanted my art to express something. And that is why every time I do a piece of art, I write my thoughts down. So if you come to purchase that painting, I can tell you exactly what's going on in that painting. You might have a completely different interpretation, but that's up to you. But I'm just telling you, this was the thought process behind me doing this piece of work. So if you're really interested in pursuing this as a career, what is your niche market going to be? If it is you're in there just to make money, you maybe have to consider the subject matter. Is the subject matter going to be, relevant? Is it something that persons are going to want to purchase? Suppose you're a person who believes in the macabre and you're going to be doing these small
Mhm.
paintings with murder and stuff like that. That might not appeal to a wider audience. You can't afford to do that kind of niche exploration as yet. So think about where you are, where your niche, but then I don't think you have to concentrate on where you are so much these days because the world is really an oyster where technology is concerned. I started posting my work on Instagram, and this just opened up the world. And this was during COVID, mind you. This just opened up my whole art world. There were persons who were calling, seeing pieces of work, and they would say, "Oh, I made a connection with that piece. Is it available?" So for the younger generation, I think they have a foot up on persons like
Yes.
myself, coming up in something like the art world. It's just getting yourself out there. Plan to have, if you can have a little exhibition on your own, then you could talk to maybe a more established artist about doing a joint show with them to get your work out there on the ground. But other than that, I think you really need to explore social media. And
Absolutely.
Just like Redbubble, there are lots of other sites now, some even offering to do it for free, where you can post your artwork, and this is seen by everybody globally. So I think younger artists today have a better chance than we do, and maybe getting it done faster as well, because we have all this technology available to us.
Yes, absolutely. So very well said. And thank you for that. Thank you for the advice for up and coming. And thank you for just being an inspiration to all of us. And before we wind down, I just want to make sure I take a couple of the comments on the
Yeah.
Facebook Live as we continue to acknowledge everyone who joined us on the Facebook Live. So we have Selena Johnson, which by the way is Irma. You guys are the best. Everlasting Peter, watching from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Awesome program. Let's see. Selena again. It was absolutely wonderful and marvelous. She's talking about working with you during the carnival pageant. Yes, to see such, she also says to see such a price of artwork come alive, such a piece of artwork it should be, come alive on stage. And then we have Indigenous Bushmen, our Black sisters are phenomenal, smart, intelligent, and strong. Keep inspiring the other sisters. Heather, I applaud you. So thank you, Indigenous Bushman. Cecilia Phipps is said, well said. Annette, love the phone case. I think you're going to get a few purchases on that phone case. Yes, Valerie Durham Hoyt. Hi, Auntie Heather. She's saying
Hi,
hi to
Valerie.
you. Tina just logged in, and I'm already loving the praise, versatility in her art too. Let's see, Selena, and you're still so humble and approachable. I would absolutely agree. More than that, our world
Thank
is a
you.
stage. Yes, Mignant, Mrs. D inspires me. Selena, let your bed call your name. What? I don't know what that means. Tina, right down my alley. Go to bed when you want, to wake up when you want, yet living fulfilled and positive. Tina is also retired. She's a friend of mine.
Okay.
Yes, well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank
It's
you for
my
sharing your
pleasure.
experience. Thank you for being an inspiration and for all that you've done for the Caribbean region. So, any final words as we wind down the
I
program?
I really hope that my words, at every opportunity, I use a platform to try and encourage women to just step out because I was that
Mhm.
timid, shy woman as well. You don't get very far by being that. And you will not be able to fulfill, what is it you really wanted to do in life? What is your passion? If you just keep cowering in a corner. If you need help, you need advice, there are people who are just there willing and waiting to assist you. It's
Absolutely.
my pleasure, really. It's my life's mission, besides my artwork. It's my life mission to try and bring other women along to lift them up so we can be the queens that we are and invite them to live their lives fully and to live out loud.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And Sonia says, good program, sis. Loved it. Sheila, lovely program. Thank you. So again, thank you once again. And for everyone who joined us during this special Untapped Potential episode, I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for being our part of our summer celebration, because as we talked about before, we are celebrating summer in a big way with fashion and cooking and music. So we're going to just celebrate summer because we all know what happened last year. We had absolutely no summer. So this year we're going to celebrate. And I want to thank you for being a part of this Push Past 10 presentation. And again, for all the information you need to know about me and the work that I do, you can visit pushpast10.com, pushpast, the number 10. And you can also send me a message if you have any inspirational guests that you think would be perfect for our program. So you can send that email to pushpast10.com at gmail, pushpast10@gmail.com. So thank you for being here. And I want to wish you a very good evening. And Ms. Doram, thank you for being here. And you have yourself a wonderful evening.
Bye bye.
Yes, thank you.